Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Commissioner meeting, 15th of December. Let's all rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry.
Okay, just want to give everybody a heads up. We have the new OWL here. I'm going to read this for you about the guidelines. Jefferson County's decided to record meetings using an OWL multi-directional camera and will upload the videos to a Jefferson County YouTube channel. The OWL camera is sound sensitive and can recognize and record conversations that are held amongst the public during a meeting. For full functionality of the OWL camera, Jefferson County would like to request that the public refrain from public comment until called upon by the president of the board. Jefferson County would also like to request the public refrain from commentary or audience conversation during the meeting. Because of the sensitivity of the OWL camera, the camera may pan to audience conversation rather than focus on the subject of the meeting. When called upon to speak, please approach the podium and state your name and address. Jefferson County would like to request that the speaker limit themselves to 5 minutes. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation as we move forward with this new platform.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
First on the agenda, approve the minutes from December, accounts payable voucher and payroll docket.
I move we approve the minutes from the December 1st meeting, the accounts payable vouchers and the payroll docket as presented.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And Patty Jackson. I see you back there.
I'm Patty Jackson with the Regional Planning Commission out of Versailles. We are here to conduct the public hearing for the Child Advocacy Center application that's being submitted to the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs. With that, I'll just go ahead and open the public hearing. So on or before December 22nd, Jefferson County, in cooperation with the Children's Advocacy Center of Southeastern Indiana, will be applying to the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs for a $500,000 Community Development Block Grant Fund project from the Public Facilities Program. Okra will make the award announcements in February, but we don't know the exact date yet in February for that. The CAC in its current Madison location cannot be accredited due to the proximity of other social service agencies and the risk of exposure to convicted felons and perpetrators. Therefore, the funds that will be used to rehabilitate the building located at 601 West Street will be turned into the Children's Advocacy Center, and then they will be able to get accredited. The center will serve primarily Jefferson County and Scott County residents. The total project cost is estimated at $788,778. Tongue twister there. The total amount of the funds again requested is $500,000. The balance of funds, the $288,778, will come from a private philanthropic donor to the Child Advocacy Center. And with that, I will open it up for any public comment or questions. Are there any questions? Comments?
You might just give a brief explanation why
Why
we
you
picked the
guys
ball up and ran with it, because due to the
Sure.
city and the count, just for people who don't know.
So originally, the city of Madison wanted to be the applicant for this project because the property is located in downtown Madison. And we had submitted the proposal back in October, I believe it was. And the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs came back and told us that the county had to be the applicant because of where the beneficiaries were going to be, that they would be in the county and in Scott County. So it's been great that the commissioners have stepped up to the plate and said, yes, that we will be the applicant for this project. And that's how we've got where we are today. So you're welcome, no problem. And there's a sign-in sheet going around if you'll make sure you sign that. And if there's no other comments, then I will close the public hearing. Okay. And then I just have a resolution. I had emailed this to you guys. I don't know if you had a chance to review it. And this just allows for the submittal of the application and the commitment of the local matching funds, which is coming from the private philanthropic donors. So I don't know if you need to read this or what you need to do for this.
Oh, sure.
Probably should. Would you like me to do it or one of you guys want to do it? I shouldn't have volunteered. Okay, resolution for authorizing application submission and local match commitment. Resolution of the County Commissioners of Jefferson County, Indiana, authorizing the submittal of the Children's Advocacy Center of Southeastern Indiana, Jefferson County Site Project application to the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs and addressing related matters. Whereas the Jefferson County Commissioners of the Jefferson County, Indiana recognizes the need to stimulate growth and to maintain a sound economy within its corporate limits. And whereas the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974, as amended, authorizes the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs to provide grants to local units of government to meet the housing and community development needs of low and moderate income persons. And whereas the Jefferson County Commissioners of Jefferson County, Indiana has conducted or will conduct public hearings prior to the submission of an application to the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs, said public hearings to assess the housing, public facilities, and economic needs of its low and moderate income residents. Now therefore be it resolved by the Jefferson County Commissioners of Jefferson County, Indiana, that the Jefferson County Commissioner President is authorized to prepare and submit an application for grant funding to address the rehabilitation of the Children's Advocacy Center of Southeastern Indiana's Jefferson County site, and to execute and administer a resultant grant, including requisite general administration and project management, contracts and agreements pursuant to regulations of the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs and the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. The Jefferson County Commissioners of Jefferson County, Indiana hereby commits the requisite local funds in the amount of $288,778 in the form of funds from a private philanthropic donor as matching funds for said program. Such commitment to be contingent upon receipt of Community Development Block Grant Public Facilities funding from the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs. Adopted by the Jefferson County Commissioners of Jefferson County, Indiana, this 15th day of December at 5 p.m. And Mr. Lee, if you don't mind signing.
You did.
You got that? Okay. And then Heather, I've got the match letter also. Do you have the map? I put it here.
You probably should put that in the form of a motion. So I make a motion that we accept resolution authorizing application submission and local match commitment.
I second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. Thanks, Patty.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And we
Appreciate it.
will keep you posted.
You've done a lot of hard work.
Hi, I just want to thank everybody for being a great community partner with us. On behalf of the CAC, this is nothing short of a holiday miracle. So thank you so much for continuing to help the children of Jefferson County. We truly appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome too.
You're part of it. You're part.
Mike Pittman / Josh.
We're not gonna slash Josh.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to talk to you about our current workload in the surveyor's office. We do a number of different things, as you all know. David, as you know, the wastewaters or the stormwater projects coming up on us rather quickly. We also have responsibility right now for the ADA program coordination. And that entails, I've got a list of 10 to 12 items here that basically take a lot of time of Josh's away from his current workload of training and floodplain training and building code training, which is constantly changing. The floodplain is changing, believe it or not. In fact, Indiana's has on the floodplain supersedes the federal floodplain now. So if we don't satisfy the Indiana floodplain, doesn't matter if it's okay in federal, can't do it. So I mean, we're kind of walking a lot of new areas with what Josh is doing, as well as the nuisance. And I must say, Josh has been quite a regular visitor to the courts lately with some of the nuisance issues we've had. He's done a very nice job. Lynette does a great job with the planning and zoning. And that's, as you know, we've got quite a few Amish families moving in now. And that's, we got all those plats done in one easy swath, didn't we, David?
Mhm.
Came through on the plan commission. And a lot of that was due to Lynette's work and her putting it together. So a lot of administrative time, a lot of training time, which takes away from us being face to face with the public, which we want to do. What I would like to suggest is that we either look at taking this ADA program and assigning it to someone who's got a passion for that and who's knowledgeable in that area, because ADA has been changing too quite a bit lately. So when that takes some training and updating, and Josh did a great job in updating our facilities with the ADA compliance issues that we've got. So what I'd like to request is the commissioners looking at either adding someone to my office or appointing someone to handle the ADA. I'll leave it to your gentlemen's duties to do that, but just to let you know too, Josh also, when someone builds a building, especially a commercial building, it has to be ADA compliant as well. So he's involved still with the ADA quite a bit, but to have a consultant there with him to help him navigate those rules and regulations be of great help. I think the latest one was a Dollar General out in Deputy. We just finished that up, so. But I wanted to get your guys' thought on it, what you think, if it's something doable, or we're not sliding it. I don't want you to think we're sliding it, but we're.
Getting stuff done. I mean, do you think a part-time help would be sufficient, or does it need to be?
If they're doing just ADA, I think part-time would suffice.
We
We
could
could
use,
discuss in our office, possibly having somebody come in and help us with some of the other duties too. Because when you have, sometimes you have things in two different places at the same time.
Josh will get a call. I'm pouring my footers today. Where are you? So he's out of the office. I'm in and out quite a bit. So it's and Lynette's there by herself a lot, which I'd like to eliminate. So I'd like to have, if we get somebody in there administratively, we could use them.
But there was part-time money appropriated this last year.
Here's $1,000.
Check, I think there's more than that in there.
How much more we get?
I think there was a sizable amount.
Yeah,
Let me give you your amount.
Yeah, because we haven't got our final budget yet.
No, for last year, that was there all of 22. In Department 10, which would be Plan Commission. I think there was money there appropriated.
so let's look and see if that's in, and we can start that process to get someone to, I'm pretty sure, because I thought there was something there, because I thought we were talking about putting money in for some of the
A
nuisance.
part-time zoning enforcement officer.
Yeah,
Right.
something like that, so maybe we can use that to do some ADA.
That'd be great. Because I think that list is pretty comprehensive, and I'm surprised once we started delving into everything that has to be done on the ADA side, which is good. I mean, it really is, it helps everybody. And we want to make sure our county facilities are all up to snuff on the ADA.
Yeah, there's been some good changes out there to help with that already, so yeah, keeping it compliant is not a. And now, no. Yeah, let's look at that, if you're okay with it.
I know that ADA stuff, it changes month to month, sometimes before you get the project finished.
Right.
That's happened to me on several of them, so
Sure.
it's kind of a nightmare, to say the least, staying on top of it when you got other things to do, so.
Well, I think with the stormwater situation we had this last year, unfortunately, an unfortunate situation in the county, and that took a lot of time, and we gave Bobby a magical mystery tour on side by
Who
side.
gave who a tour?
Well, yeah, you told us where we were half the time. We didn't know where we were. The landmarks kind
No.
of got wiped away, didn't
Yeah,
it?
there was a lot of hours spent out there on that, unfortunately, but it had to be. So.
But we would appreciate, just want to make you guys aware of what's going on in the office and see what we can get done.
See how much is there and see if that, it's like that. I mean, I know it'll help some. Will it be enough? That's what we're
Well, if
saying.
you all know of anyone who could help us with the ADA, who is ADA, familiar, that would be a great help too, because that would certainly help us.
We'll touch base with folks and see if we get pointed in the right direction. So, all right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate what you're doing. Heading out,
He's got stuff to do.
I bet. Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Same to you.
Be careful.
Have a good night.
You too, bud.
Jason out there?
Jason is not out here.
Oh. Okay, very good. Okay. Approval of the.
So we had an agreement with Stifel and with Andrew Lanham for the, looking at things in the ARP fund, and that's kind of still there, but there's some other things that are coming up with tax abatements and economic development that just to extend it another year. We had Pat look at it. He didn't have issues with it. So I would make a motion. We worked with Andrew for quite a bit on the jail and for follow-up stuff, and it's always been
He's been a good asset
Yes,
to
he
us.
is.
I'll make him.
Yeah.
So, even without an agreement, we can, so, anyway, but yeah, so I'm make a motion, we accept the proposal from Stifel and Andrew Lanham for their consulting services with the various economic development, tax abatement, tax impact consulting services. And his rate, his rate is 200 an hour, and the amount is not to exceed 15,000 for the year of 2023.
I second your motion.
Any more questions or comments? If not, all those in favor,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll get that out in a minute. And appointments, we have one. Victoria Perry.
So Victoria Perry got appointed last year to the Jefferson County Board of Tourism, and she would like to serve again. So she's been a big help. And he gives us a little insight into the newest innkeeper's tax payer in the system, maybe in Fairfield Inn. So I move that we accept the appointment of Victoria Perry to the Jefferson County Board of Tourism for this next year, for the year 2023.
I'll second your motion.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And Bobby Phillips. Are you here?
Present.
There he is.
Oh, I got a handful of things to get through here this evening. The first
Troy?
one.
No.
Okay. First, I want to thank the commissioners and council for the budget approval and the salary ordinances that were passed. All the guys were very appreciative of that, and I want to pass that along first and foremost. So, I don't need to read your all's agenda. We did meet on December the 5th to kick off our Jefferson County Bridge inspection. Our compliance month was actually November, but everything was slowed down somewhere between the federal and NDOT before we could get the STIP and notice to proceed and all their paperwork done. They started on the 5th and had all those done within the week and have already submitted all that information to NDOT. So that was going along very, very well. The best part of that news is no critical findings, so that's always a major plus. So nothing urgent to kind of jerk the wool out from underneath of us and start over like a flood or something like that. So let me save that one for last. The other thing, I had emailed you guys a little bit of the detours that were going to be taking effect along State Road 62 that were passed along from NDOT. Just need the bigger ledge. I'm a visual guy, so I'll show you what, so that I can kind of run out there and see what they were and how these detours affected. You can ignore my blue line. That was for another project I was working on. The roads that are going to be worked on is on State Road 62 at the, basically from Canaan and heads all the way into Ripley County, Switzerland County. I drove all those roads, checked the detours. Poplar Ridge won't be as much as affected because most of those are going to be able to take that detour right on around State Road 250. The official detour is going to be 421 to 129. What we're signing or what we're recognizing is all the unofficial detours that are going to happen. The one thing that I definitely want to confirm before you're welcome to pass that along and I can grab that in a minute. The unofficial detours basically protect us and allow us to hold them accountable for any damages that are done to our county roads. It is up to us to post anything as far as if there's any weight limits, load restrictions, length of vehicle restrictions, and all of those things, if we need to do so. Some of those detours almost look like they overlap because of the road closures and the bridge and small structures that are going to be done. The nice thing about that just allows basically more coverage for us because that's just a few more roads that they're going to have done. Those are going to be happening from March to June is kind of the dates. And that was the reason I kind of questioned their dates when they had 2023 to June of 2025. Yeah, am I reading this correctly? It was first and foremost, but they're not going to be doing all of those at the same time, but they're all going to be happening. So if I can get your all signature and approval for those, we can make sure that I've already ran all of the unofficial detours as well as a detour to make sure I had that part of it to see what improvements we need to make. It will change some of our road preservation plans because that was going to be interacting with some of the stuff that was going to be on some of our chip seal list. There's a couple of those roads are going to be impacted that are on our community crossings paving list that we're not going to be able to change, but we can work that with the contractor whenever that goes to bid and we get that awarded so that they know where they are and can make those adjustments for the transportation, getting those guys in and out. I also notified NDOT because 325 is one of those that they've got on the detour. We've already got that one out and awarded to Temple and Temple to be replaced from February to March. So hopefully their detour, they can start on the other end and we can catch up. And that's kind of the abbreviated version of their 3 letters that they sent me. So you don't want me to read all those, do you? And I think there's actually 4 or 5 here to sign. We can take care of those afterwards, and that's up to your all's approval. So
I move to accept the NDOT unofficial detours for, is it 5?
yeah, I can
Yeah,
read
like
off all
6.
the DES numbers if you want
No,
to.
no,
We'll
that's
just
fine.
say as noted.
As noted on NDOT documentation to Jefferson County.
So moved.
Yeah, vote.
So move, you ready? All those in favor say aye.
Last time I jumped the gun, Robinson. The last one that I wanted to bring up, and I'm not pushing real hard for this, just want to make it kind of an awareness type deal because it was brought to me from one of my vendors that we purchase equipment from. One of the things that stays on our hit list that we need to keep extremely strong is our grade on. We rely on that thing a lot, and when it is down, not only the expense of the repairs, but the productivity that's lost. Everything's been going up like crazy, and availability gets more and more challenging. So they go up about 4% a year, and sometimes they'll go up 4% per quarter. I had priced these back when we were working on budgets, is when I kind of started all this, because it was kind of on my list for more for 2024, more so than for 2023. When I started the negotiation, the last quote he sent me was on September the 15th for the grade all, and it's including a camera for safety for the backup camera, which is a $2,700 option. And as an individual that ran the grade all, know how many blind spots there are on that thing and how easy it is to almost crushed a Ford Ranger. That's pretty cheap. True experience, guys.
I was gonna
Sorry.
say, it sounds
Nothing
like
can
it.
replace experience.
Sounds like it.
I was kind of aggravated if you flagged and didn't tell me that was there. But anyway, we'll leave that alone.
Another story.
This is included, the bucket that we use. This price is also including a fixed thumb grapple that I may or may not go ahead and purchase, and a limb shear that I may or may not go ahead and purchase. I'm not sure how much we would use those. I'm just kind of throwing the gross number out there and know that we're gonna haggle down from that, but it started out at $496, $698 back in September.
It is a gross number.
Yeah, and that price is already inflated
Oh,
to $510, $818.86. I've already called them and negotiated. I know the price is gonna go up again in January. This unit won't be available until September of next year, so there'll be no money changing hands until September of next year at the earliest. The things I'm already kind of negotiating with him was one, first and foremost, the increase. The second one was the pre-inspection delivery of $1,200. And the one that I really didn't like was the 5% steel surcharge of $24,267.56. Now, the only reason I'm going ahead and bring this to you, and I'm not done with my negotiating, is we don't have another meeting this year. So we can either table this and we can worry about the budget next year, or I can go ahead and continue to see if I can get that locked in and then make you guys aware of what that number will be, and it will be less than that 510, 818.86. I've got a week left or two, so. Like I said, I'm not pushing one way or the other for that. With what we were able to do with the ARP money and pick up the loader, the road grader, those were things that were going to be on my agenda for 2023. So that would allow me to move that forward. The grade all is currently at Southeastern. It had a little electrical glitch, which causes all kinds of problems and it won't go. It ended up being a center pin that basically, it's called a pin, but it's more like a whole bunch of little electrical contacts.
like a
They go
rotor,
bad.
Like an old rotor.
That's a $15,000 part. And the 15,000 kind of hurts, but what hurts even more is the 3 weeks of no productivity out of my grade. They are working with me a little bit with the trade-in number. Their trade-in number is not going to come close to what we've been able to do on the marketing on gov deals, because we have done very well there. One case in point that I will certainly make, I didn't intend to pun, but it's going to kind of work. We sold that case skid steer. I was offered $16,000 for that trade-in towards a track loader over 2 years ago. With all the availability of equipment, that actually appreciated $1,000. They offered me $17,000 for trade, which I told them was still too low, but I would consider it. It ended up bringing $34,000 and went to the state of Iowa. And they picked it up the other day on gov deals. So I'm confident that our grade all is a very good unit that will help offset some of that cost. And that won't be for sale until I get the new one, because it is that vital piece of equipment. So I keep asking for Santa Claus for dump trucks, but even the dump truck suppliers can't deliver my dump trucks yet. So I was kind of joking going on there the other day. They're only getting 4 next year. I have been told Palmer's got up to 11 ordered, so I'm still working on those because we've already got that one approved and just waiting on the availability for them to actually punch that ticket and get me that truck.
You're talking about the electrical issues again, brings me to my next question. Is Great All the only game in town?
Great All is the only game in town for the Great All itself, as far as that telescoping boom. I have looked at a piece of equipment called a Macalac. It's actually made in France. They've been around for a long time. Their travel time, as far as their road speed, is about 20 or 22 miles per hour, where the Great All is 57 or 58. So you can actually make it from one side of the county to the other if you're removing trees or tree cleanup without hauling it. The Macalac is something we could haul. The Macalac, I think I did price it, Bobby, and I had kind of been matched. It's always very vital that you match equipment with personnel. I looked at that to replace the Great All and or maybe the backhoe and or maybe the excavator to see who would be most interested in operating that piece of equipment. I can get the Macalac with all the attachments for I can safely say under 274. So I mean, a little bit more than half price of that 510, and we're looking at 3 options on there. I'm fine
not
with
looking
continuing
at
to
the
look at
money.
studies.
I'm looking at the history, which
I
I
am
know
too.
about that.
I know I'm told how solid the Macalac is, but I don't have enough people that have the real life experience with the Macalac. That's kind of the struggle. It's a boom type excavator. It handles just a little bit different than an excavator when you're sitting in it and running joysticks, as well as the mobility. It's almost 3 pieces of equipment in one, because it's kind of a skid steer, it's kind of a telehandler, and it's kind of an excavator. But it's not near as handy as a Grail, but I will
Well,
gladly take that back and
you know,
continue to try to.
Yeah, the great all runs 57 mile an hour, but when it's down all the time
Well,
electrical,
when it's 0.
that
This is a-
22 dependable is kind of attractive to me. I'm just
This
throwing
is
that
the-
out there.
I
because
absolutely, and
I
I know,
remember the headache and I don't want to do that again.
no, I became I was on a first name basis with the engineer.
Yes,
From Iowa.
yes.
And before it was done, he was, how can I help you? Because I basically told him the commissioners didn't even want to hear the word great off. And that, I got a lot of attention after that.
You know, they'd have stepped their game up a lot.
And we didn't have any problems after that. This is the first time it's been down
Yeah.
at all for quite a while.
Right. 'cause
We did
I
have a lot of
keep-
hiccups with that thing, and thank God it was under warranty.
Yes,
'Cause,
and it's $245,000 more than we gave for the first one.
yes, it is. We
I
was
think
like,
it was 365 and change. I
I
remember.
was somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
They're a
Okay.
high dollar item for sure.
All parts and pieces.
You want me to pursue that or just let that sit? And I don't even have to, I may not even pull the trigger if I can't get them down to where I think they should be, with my recommendations. But I know everything has to be done in public, so I won't have any negotiating after that unless I.
I like the first figure first.
So if I can get him down under the 496, 698, and I'm gonna be squeezing harder than that. We're good with that.
Yeah.
So we use it. So much, it's hard to.
I'll start working on Brian tomorrow. Does that need to be an emotion or are we good enough for there?
The motion will come when you get it and see what you want.
That'll work. That'll work.
I mean, on the other one, I mean, who,
Southeastern's the only one that can work on it.
I meant the Macalac or whatever.
The Macalac, that's with Wilson Equipment. That's our own. We've got a very good working relationship with them as far as them staying behind their product. Everything's gonna have downtime. I don't care if you go buy a new truck or what you do.
It works.
Something's gonna have a little bit.
Do you know can he tell you people that have used them to try to get a little?
I know the city of Jeffersonville's got one that they've been using and they've had one probably the longest. They are hoping to be able to run 2. They were gonna try to run a little bit bigger one because where the city of Jeffersonville does a lot of sewer and water treatment facility installs. One of the things they have to lift up and place is a lot of those barrier walls, those very big steel heavy things to keep them from collapsing.
Okay.
And the first time I went down there, they told me they was gonna lift that up with the 11, which was like a 22,000-pound unit. And it didn't quite have enough rear end to do that, but there is a little bit bigger unit and I would probably lean towards the bigger one.
Okay.
The nice thing is you would actually be able to dig closer to you as far as like if you're cleaning out a ditch on a road with the Macalac than you can with the Great All, because with the Great All and a telescoping boom, the closest you can get to about 9 feet. Because I mean, that's all it is unless you're pulling it off the edge. So there's pros and cons with both of those pieces of equipment. But that's the only, the important thing, the big thing. I did mention the community crossings. We were recipients of that. So that we've already got some of those designs and bid specs started for those. We'll probably be bidding that out in February. So that is a huge blessing to be able to keep going and make the progress on the roads we've been making. Did get everything submitted for the 3 bridges for the grant. I'll have that interview on January the 4th, so I'll be able to follow up at the next meeting after that to see how that goes, but they won't know anything on the funding until probably March. And there's supposed to be another funding opportunity, we'll call it, for bridge preservation, that a couple of those bridges may fit in that bucket as well. All of that would be money towards 2028 for those rehabs. And we'll see where that goes. So I'll probably be back in January for commitment letter, and I'll know more after the other meeting. Because I did get one phone call that they thought that one or two of those structures may fit better in the preservation, more so than the federal call. My argument to them, or my question to them was, can I go ahead and turn them in for all three? You guys you guys hold the purse. So you know how much money is gonna be in there. I don't care which bucket you pay me out of, just get my bridges to fit in one of those two buckets, is where I was at. So, but there was an additional asset management plan that had to be turned into federal highway for that. That has been submitted and approved. So we keep checking the boxes and keep trying to make a little progress.
You didn't say how much on the community crossings, did you?
We get $1 million. We get $1 million. That goes a long way.
Good work.
And
Mhm.
there's enough in there. I won't be giving any of that million back.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
appreciate your work. on
Thank
that.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll leave these with you and you can sign them and I'll grab them later. Hit the road, say Merry Christmas. I gave them to you.
I got them. You're good.
Sign
to
those,
roll.
I'm good to go.
Merry Christmas. Be careful.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Be careful. Got Troy out there, I see.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I left you guys a little bundle on the table there earlier, so save us a couple minutes. First thing I'd like to talk about is, I think most of you have probably seen the email or already know, but on December the 6th, we received our denial of our claim for FEMA assistance after the incident over Labor Day weekend up on Brushy Fork with the flash flood. So the next step for that is to request from the governor's office access to the state disaster relief fund. That was immediately done at the time that we received the denial. So with that said, if there's any contacts in that area of the government that you guys have, this would be the time to call those folks and encourage and ask for whatever assistance they might be able to provide that application. So, but I've not heard anything. Like I said, we immediately sent that in and working again with DHS. Just now we're working with the governor's office rather than FEMA. So I'll keep you posted as I hear more. Also, this is more just informational, but you may or may not several months ago, I told you that we had we're being the middleman for a state homeland security and protection grant for the town of Hanover. And we received that grant to replace their security perimeter fencing at the water treatment facility there at the bottom of the Beach Hill. And that was in the amount of $30,000. With the supply chain issues and all the other things that we're experiencing everywhere else, that project dragged on a little bit. The project has been completed. There was an inflation factor to the total project, and I think it came in at like 41,000 and some change. Hanover accepted that additional responsibility, and so in our final, we got our final program report approved, and I've also submitted the final fiscal report asking for the reimbursement for the original $29,330 some dollars, and then that will come to us, to the county, and then Heather will forward that to the town of Hanover after we receive that, close that circle. But Hanover knows that and has accepted as part of that report and that request for reimbursement, the responsibility for that difference between the original and the 41,000. So that we should be able to close that out shortly, I hope. Then to the packet that I sent you, the first thing you should see there is just a status report from Christopher B. Burke Engineering for the work on the multi-hazard mitigation plan. And you'll see that we're 80% completed. The deadline or the estimated timeline for submission to IDHS for their initial approval before going to FEMA is now January of 2023. So, but we're at 82%. So just a little status report there on that. The next thing in the packet is it is some AED material. Sorry, that in the packet. Is it there? Yes. No, it's not. It's your next, Centos or Duke?
Duke.
Okay. So at the council meeting a couple of months ago, we were working on trying to secure some quotes or some prices for some automatic external defibrillators for some county locations. It came about as a result of the need or the suggested need at the fairgrounds at the last fair. And obviously EMA is a non-medical agency, but I agreed to try and help get those quotes. It quickly became apparent that it was going to be more than just getting quotes. And to make a long story short, I asked for additional quotes at the request of the council at the meeting prior to this one earlier this week. And as I was working through those with the differences in those quotes, it was hard to get apples and apples and oranges and oranges. So because I didn't have a lot of background with it other than just trying to get those numbers, I asked the council for additional time and said that I thought we needed to take a step back, get a couple of other people involved in the process of what we actually want, what we actually need. An arbitrary number as an example of 7 devices was put out there in the beginning. And just as I was doing some quick tabulating in notes, that 7 turned out to look more like 11 to me. And that was even sharing the 2 at the fairgrounds in the off season with the egg building there at the front with the community building. And so I think more people than just I need to be able to get what we need so we can get more and more accurate quotes. So with your all's permission, I would like to get some sort of a work group together, and I'm open to suggestions with who you would like to see working on that issue. Councilwoman Foy, or Trailer Foy, sorry, hyphenated, made the suggestion or offered her assistance that she would like to serve on that work group if you guys saw fit to allow that to happen. And then anybody else that you guys want to see on that. But I don't want the group to be large. I'd like for it to be smaller rather than larger, but a couple of extra eyes always is a good thing. And but I just think we need to have a better plan, and let's just try and find the cheapest thing out there and buy it. Say we have it. So it just the other thing, or the other part of that I expressed my concern with to them was I think we need to involve the county attorney, and I would ask that you allow us to do that as well. If that device should have to be activated and it were to fail when it was accessed, if we didn't have some sort of a maintenance agreement with a vendor that maintained and checked expiration dates and whatnot on a routine basis, like the device that's currently located in the courthouse, which is done like that, then of course the county would be liable and responsible for whatever damages were assessed by whatever events afterwards. So I think that just trying to get one that's the lowest price and just put it out there and say, well, we're going to take care of it. And then for whatever reason, it doesn't get taken care of. I think that would be foolish on our part to do that way. So that's going to, of course, elevate the cost at some point to where that maintenance agreement will be part of the purchase price. But again, I think that's the prudent thing to do. So, but I'd like to include the county attorney as part of that work group as well. But,
I agree with you, because the one at the courthouse, they come in and test it, they check the batteries. If it needs replacing, they replace it or update it, and it gets done.
right. And it gets done properly with the
Right.
correct equipment and the correct supplies. And I just think that's the prudent way to do that. So, may not be the cheapest way, but
No, but person's life, there's no
absolutely.
cheap doesn't cut it. down.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Would someone from the EMS service be the one to,
I can reach out. Sure.
I think of someone out there that might have a little experience with it.
Sure. I think that's how I got the job.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, but those days are long gone for me, and I am a no stretched imagination expert anymore on that stuff, other than to know that there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. So.
Is there anybody else? I know the schools have them, but I think they just.
I think it would probably be a good idea to have somebody from the sheriff's department or the jail staff, just because they're on that list. And if they don't already have an existing plan as part of the new construction, that 11 could easily become 12, 14 or higher. And I don't know the answer to that. So I mean, I think we need to at
Sure.
least ask
Yeah.
that question
I agree.
if we don't ask them to participate. So,
We've got the new jail site and you could conceivably need 3 or 4, or,
right.
who knows?
But I just think there's a lot of, how many do we need? And the discussion Tuesday night was, there are standards out there that talks about per square feet and per population of public buildings and public areas. It's recommended that this number be, every so many feet or for every 10,000 square feet, you have X number. Or I don't know what those standards are,
Sure.
but they say they're out there. But I think that group needs to look at that and, and just do some math and,
I'm trying to think, I think about 7 buildings, we got 7 buildings, we need, I mean,
Right.
the initial number that was kind of just.
And
pulled
I
out
think
of-
that's probably where that came
Yeah.
from, but
Mhm.
but they talked about the fairgrounds and, they said, well, if we have a community building, and something happens on the other side of the arena, by the time you get to one and get back to the other, that's gonna take extra time. And so during the fair activity, it would be good to have one at each end of the fairgrounds, and then, when it's not fair season, then the one at the arena could be taken to, the Mason building, and still have one in the community building, but it's being used by the public. And, so we just need to have those folks help us work that out as to how many we need based on, different events and times of the year and that sort of thing. So,
That's where your portables would come into play on a lot of that.
right, they would all be portable, but, we just need to talk, it just more than me needs to figure out how many and how they're gonna be used and when they're gonna be located there. So, I'll reach out to EMS, I'll reach out to, Pat McGrath and anybody else that you guys could suggest, email me or
Okay.
call me or
Yeah, I
something.
think that's
if you
a
think
good
about it
start.
for a
I mean, they
while.
may have ideas of people on it
Sure.
that should be on it as well.
And we could always reach out ad hoc.
Yep.
Okay, keep you posted on that as well. The next thing in your bundle that I gave you is from Duke Energy. That is an external lighting agreement. That is the exact same proposal when we located here for the 3 parking lot exterior lights, the LED lights outside. And this is for the 215 West LaGrange Road in Hanover building. If you've never driven by there at night, you might just pay attention. When you drive by there, it's extremely dark out there. You turn the lights off inside the building and you walk outside and you have to wait for your eyes adjust to find your car. So it's a safety issue and security issue as well. It's an extremely good deal on Duke's part. The back of the first page there talks about the numbers, but essentially it's spread out. The cost of the installation of the material and the equipment is spread out over 10 years. That's added to the monthly bill. You'll notice that the usage estimate is about $3 additional a month on the meter because of the LED equipment, but it comes out to about $7,800, I think, total price. And then if you spread that out over, it's about $20 a pole additionally each month. So, but there's, the entire package is there. But I would ask that be considered, and just like you guys did here, you don't have to do it tonight. The proposal is good for 90 days if you want to table it and look at it, or have somebody else look at it, or compare it to the one that we signed a couple of years ago when we did the ones here in this building, whatever y'all's pleasure is on that. But I'd asked Duke Energy a month or so ago to give us a similar proposal for that building for the security and the safety reasons.
Hostages. Sorry.
Well, it's like I said, the equipment here,
I mean,
your
I
point is
agree.
well
I mean,
taken,
I agree, you need the lighting.
but the equipment is
There's not a lot
top
of
notch,
options.
as you can see when you walk out the parking lot, and I mean, it is
No, I
what it
understand,
is,
yeah.
and $20 a pole isn't bad in the big picture, but your point is well taken. I guess we could write the check for the $7,800.
Thinking those poles would be good future camera locations too.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Well, they let you put it on the poles.
I don't know. I mean, they're-
And then they charge you to put stuff on the poles. By our own-
I
I'm not
think, well, I
dealing-
think they're, if you look at the actual wording of the agreement, I think the poles become our property.
They do, okay.
I think
Well,
they're our property unless we, for whatever reason, stop payment or we give them 22 days written notice and they'll come take the poles out. But it's 20, you can cancel it at any time and with 22 days notice, you can take, which I thought was an odd number too, but you could have them removed and stop the program and, whatever you want to do. But but at the end of that 10 years and it's our equipment and our poles but in the interim, I would assume that they'd still be our poles.
Sure, we can still pay for electricity. though.
Sure, yeah. Well, yeah, but then you go from $20 a pole to $3 or $4 a pole, for the meter use.
Says here. Written consent for such installation from that in it, so I don't think they.
I would,
A
for
small camera.
security
Yeah.
cameras, I would
Not
assume would
like
probably
that.
not be the first request they'd have. So,
Right,
Yeah,
it's not like we're hanging a major.
right. But like I said, if you guys want to table it or whatever, I'll follow up the next meeting, or we can talk afterwards or whatever. Unless you want to act on it now. So,
What's the time frame on it?
installation, I'm not sure. The proposal is good for 90 days and I just received it today, which is why I didn't get it to you sooner than tonight. So I didn't receive it until this afternoon. So, but there's 90 days on the proposal. And if I recall, once we signed it and sent it back to them, I think the ones here were installed pretty quick. Poles had to cure once they got them in. They sat for a little bit before they worked on them and put the equipment up, but I think the poles went in pretty quick, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing in there is a spreadsheet, and that is the current progress or status of the expenditures so far on the project there, 215 West LaGrange Road. We've been working hard to try and do some alternate funding ideas, and we've been working with the health department, and we've been working with the healthcare coalition on some things. The green lines are what has been completed to this point. The white lines are pretty much the tow motor, the forklift, and then the electronic access and the security camera systems. So as an example, I really was hoping that by now I would have had something more firm, but the forklift is an example. We're working with a grant through the Healthcare Coalition through the State Department of Health. I put $7,000 for a used unit on there in hopes that, we could find something that was serviceable and decent for, not a new price of $50,000 or $60,000. But this grant opportunity came through, and because of the storage of the health care supplies that are there with the PPE and whatnot, I was able to get us qualified to apply for that grant. And then there is a Sun Belt Rentals, as an example, in Clarksville, has a new unit that's 5 years old that has been rotated through their rental fleet. It's more than serviceable with all the service records. Won't have hoses dripping hydraulic fluid on the floor, and it's a very, very nice unit for about $22,000, but it'll be a grant to pay for the $22,000 as opposed to our $7,000 or $8,000 of our money. So we'll get a better unit and it won't cost us anything if I can get that finalized. So that's where I'm working now. It's kind of a fine line, though. The downside to that is I received 6 pallets today that weighed 7,800 pounds across the 6 pallets. So kudos to the county highway. They bailed me out again. They brought a skid steer out. It's not as easy as it was when it was at the fairgrounds. They could just run the skid steer over there. Now they've got to trailer it out to Hanover. So it's a little bit more of a logistical nightmare to do that when we don't have a machine available to building. But we're working to get that done. But I appreciate the working relationship and the cooperation that we have with the highway department, because they really came through today. So, but we're starting to get pallets for the new jail equipment and supplies that are coming in. So I'm trying to save that money and not use our money, and I'm trying to get a machine, and we're already having the need. So I'm not real sure how much longer I can hold out waiting for that signature, but I just sure as the world, as soon as you spend the money here, you'll get the free money there, and I'm trying not to let that happen, so. But that's kind of where we are up to this point. The other two things, are, you know, I said the key access and card access and the security cameras. We've got an alarm system in the building right now that's up and functional, but there are no cameras yet, and we're using brass keys, hard keys, so. That's kind of where we are right now. Overall, the bottom line, you know, we were just guessing that we could spend maybe as much as, you know, $150,000 for what was needed. When actually we sat down and took a better inventory of what was available out there in the current condition, it was about half of that. So, and then from there, with what we're able to do, I've been able to cut several tens of thousands of dollars off that, and there's only about $15,000 or $20,000 left on those other items that I've mentioned. And we could cut another $7,000 off that if I can get that grant for that turnover. So anyway, just letting you know about where we are. That's the current state of affairs as they are today. So I think that's it, unless you have questions for me.
Sounds good.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Trish, you have anything tonight?
A couple things. Well, I'd like to get something done about the pricing. I know that we were made aware, what, let me give y'all. Like, these are current vet prices. There's 3 in that. That's kind of, y'all have seen that one before about the, like what we're losing at the shelter for adoptions. And then this is about our foster to adopt program that I want to go over with y'all with that on that too. So like with the shelter pricing, I need to get it official that I can make the changes from that 125 for dog adoptions and the 45 for cat adoptions change to where it's more, where the shelter's not losing the money. I would like to go to a $30 adoption fee plus the cost of spay neuter and to get the rabies vaccinations. And that price would be base per vet, like what the vet would use. It's the way Jeannie used to do it back before. And the vets are trying to get together and come with a similar price that they're all will be a lot closer, but it's not been agreed upon yet at this time. So, but I need to get the websites and the pricings changed up so the public knows what they're getting. So would you all be okay with the 30 plus vet thing, or do we need to keep it to where we're still losing the money?
Oh, no, we're still losing money.
Well,
No,
I don't want to,
no.
I want to try to get us. And then hopefully by the beginning of the year, the vets will come to an agreement. There's 3 on board and 2 that's waiting, is from what I understand. And I know the pricing is all over, and like St. Clair's is different from what you all, are not St. Clair's. Carrollton's prices are a little bit different than what y'all seen the last time. They gave me what they would charge a person to come in the first time that I showed y'all that paperwork, and this is what they're actually charging the shelter. So I had missed numbers prior to that. And I mean, if I could get them, if I could afford to get them all fixed at the Carrollton, because that is the cheapest, that's what I would do. But it's just, I guess more or less, am I working on the assumption that all animals are going to be fixed at the shelter's cost and then adopt them out and collect that money back? Or does it go to the adopter? I mean, I'll still get them fixed before they leave, but you know, I don't know, like exactly in the budget, like how that was planned out.
So would you have a cost if the animal was already fixed?
Yeah, in that one, like if they came in already fixed, I would like to charge a $45 adoption fee, just plus if they don't have the rabies, plus rabies. And then that's kind of like the shelter special animals because they came in with no cost to the shelter. And then like if they came in fully vetted, then it would just be the flat $45 fee. And then we're also, I'm finding I'm having issues like with people coming from out of state to adopt. And like, or just even out of our county who doesn't want to have to drive back here to get them spayed or neutered on their appointment date and stuff like that. So I would like to like maybe come up with a different voucher system to where I can pay out of state vets or like we have kittens that we have people from Indianapolis come down and adopted a kitten today. They're not old enough to be fixed yet. So I couldn't say, okay, you can have them when I get them fixed, or they wouldn't be allowed to go for another 2 months, which would be a shelter's cost. So there's all these little tweaks that I don't know how to.
So maybe
address.
if they don't agree to go to one of the vouchered vets, then you just charge.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It would charge the $30, which covers like the vaccines that I give them at the shelter, minus the microchipping, because we don't have any more of that right now. But that $30 covers everything that I give them in-house. And then like, there's that $75, we could do a $75 deposit, which those doctors would give me the $75. And then when they prove that the animal's been fixed, I could give them refund their $75 back to them. And then if they don't, then we'd have to figure out where that 75, like how that would be handled.
Say if we made a policy that after a year, if the animal was not brought in with the voucher saying that it was fixed, then as long as you had a policy saying where the money goes, then we could put it back into your operating budget.
I'm willing to do that too. And that keeps it, the adoption, like the adoption fee minus that lower, and they'll get their money back when they pay it. It's just, the only thing is like, you don't know what the vet's going to charge you, where I get a discount for these local vets because it's a shelter animal, but Indianapolis isn't going to give them a discount for being a shelter animal from here. So that adopter is going to have to know that they're going to pay more. I guess I want to see if you all will agree. I mean, we can have a different meeting to where we can come to the prices. I just need to know if I'm allowed to change. Then I guess not sure.
I think keeping the fee, the $30 is good, and then some sort of deposit until they go, and then they can pick whoever they want to go to. I think that's fine,
Okay, well,
because some
if
people,
I don't write the voucher out for the 4 local vets, like our 4 locals, if I don't mark it out for those prices, they'll be charged an extra, it's a more of a fee when they come in, just as they're, like I adopt.
So just throwing this out there, because we already have to write the check to the vet for the bill, could you not just hold $75 back for every animal? And then once they prove that the animal's been spayed, and then we wouldn't be making more claims to the local vets?
That is a good point. Yeah, I mean,
Just handle
we
it
can
like
do it that
all-
way, and that follows the state guideline for the spay neuter, that the law for that is.
making
does-
sure they're getting,
Yeah, the only
Right.
thing in that state thing, it says that $75, if they fail to become spayed or neutered, is to be turned over to the Department of BMV to go to the SNSI account to help with Indiana's spay neuter programs.
So if that's what it is, then we would just have to establish another fund, and then you would have to keep track of however
I
long
can
it's
do
in
that.
there. But I would say there's probably a rule where the county could collect a certain amount too and hold, and then that way it could help. the
Yeah, I mean, we
shelter.
could add, that,
75 is probably the minimum, so.
yeah, that
like I said,
was what they said that I would have to turn over if it got forfeited. Like if they failed to comply, I'd have to turn that 75 over, but maybe we can make it 100, and then we keep the 25 in shelter. And
It's a good round, it's a
Yeah.
good round number, but that's a good round number.
and then, so it would be 130 to adopt any animal at the shelter, cat or dog.
Well,
they-
and
but-
if
but
they
it-
went and got them that, then they
Then
get 100
then
of
they
that
get
back.
their 100 back. Yeah.
I think that's a good way forward.
we think.
Don't they sign an agreement
Yeah,
kind of along those lines?
not that they would be refunded the money, just that the money.
No, I
that they-
mean that they will abide by these rules,
Mhm, mhm.
you know,
Yeah, yeah, and that they have so many days, it depends on the age, like
of
so
the
many
animal to
days
get it.
to get it fixed by, and if they don't, then we have the right to reclaim the animal and so forth like that.
I don't think that's
Until I can get the vets to come together or
Sure.
to where it's. but
I think it just takes all the guessing work, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
people travel out of the
Okay.
county as well
Yeah.
for vet
Yeah.
services.
Mhm.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people are like, what, we have to use, here and, or just those 5 and, but yeah. Let's see. We also have in there, it's that last sheet that I gave you, it's the foster to adopt program that I'm finding some issues with. Like right now, they're allowing animals to be fostered to be potentially adopted for up to 6 months. They're letting animals go stay with people. So, BOA suggests that it takes 3 weeks for an animal to become acclimated to a home situation so that you see a true behavior. So I would like to change that up instead of 6 months of having this program to be down to just 3 to 4 weeks. And they also were told, like when the animal's out with this foster, any medical issues or anything, the shelter covers it at 100%. There's no way of knowing ahead of time, right, at the way it's currently going, is if those fosters are even taking them to a vet, what vet they're taking them to, how much we're being charged, is it really sick? So they're in that proposal there, it kind of gives you my concerns and worries. But I would like to change it to the 3 to 4 weeks. And that if there is a medical issue, that the animal be brought back to the shelter directly, and then we take care of where it goes for care, if it really needs care and stuff. Unless that foster takes on the responsibility of that bill, and then I'll let them just take them wherever they want.
So you shorten it up, you're gonna reduce or
Yeah.
I don't think you'll eliminate, but you'll reduce the possibility of that having to happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's,
And then also, like, if we foster out a kitten in 6 months' time, that kitten's gonna come back a juvenile, a young, it's not gonna be a
A cat.
kitten, highly adoptable kitten anymore. And I'm scared that people are gonna say, yeah, I want to foster to adopt that little puppy for 6 months, but then when the puppy becomes 6 months of age, they're like, we don't
Sure.
want it anymore.
Sure.
Here, you can have back my trouble.
Gets big and weighs 50 or 60 pounds.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then we get back potentially a harder to adopt animal. So I would like anything that's under 6 months also to be not allowed into this program. Or
Not to be allowed out.
yeah, for the
out to
foster.
for 6 months. right?
Yeah, well, even, I'm scared even 3 to 4 weeks, they might, because they're sought after. The puppies and the kittens are very sought after. And if you can't train a puppy or a kitten to like your home life, or to get it to where, unless there's a situation that we're needing them to, like they might be still, might need feeding or extra care or something like that. That last thing is what I find my notes. I'm sorry, I've never done this.
2 weeks in, rather than 3 to 4.
Yeah, or just
And-
something
or
to
you just want to not,
make them exempt potentially, because I think I could get, they would be adopted day one, because everybody, like I see everybody come in, they're like, oh my gosh, it's a cute kitten. And out of the 10 years that I worked there before, there was never a kitten like left behind or a puppy left behind. They got adopted pretty much quickly. I'm just,
so how old, do you want to put that exemption line out? And think about it, you don't have to tell us, but having something
Yeah.
established, well, he is, but
Yeah, maybe like the 16 weeks. That is also like the requirement the vet gives me that I need to keep them vaccinated every 2 weeks
Okay.
until they're 16 weeks. So at that point, I know at 16 weeks, I know they're all vaccinated, they're all good and up to date. Then maybe they can do the fostering to adopt.
Okay, then.
I like, yep.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I kind of made the report the last meeting we were at, but we had a couple more animals adopted out. I don't know, but physically in the shelter, we have 40 animals. There's 16 cats, 13 dogs, there's 9 in foster, 2 at PetSense. So it's going great. We actually got some open kennels and it's looking good. We're getting, I know. But there is also one other thing I want permission to be able to do. In the Pet Point program where I get this information from, y'all don't have this because I forgot to make several copies. There is actually 141 animals that it is saying is available and ready for adoption at the shelter. So that's 101 animals that I can't account for, and it dates all the way back to 2018. I want permission to be able to go into that program and pull that 101 and either put them off into a separate folder and or until I can like search out why they weren't taken out of the system.
Is it, I mean, how much of an effort would it be to go do that, or?
I don't think it'll take much
Okay.
if I'm allowed to do that. It's just pulling them. I looked in the program and I found where I can move them to an inactive status and like highlight them in a certain folder.
Okay,
So I'll move them over to that inactive. That way too, when I'm giving you all the totals, it may actually really reflect what's in there. Because when I did this animal inventory report, it said 141 animals are at the shelter and I was like, what? And it says like free roaming the shelter. There's 14 animals just free roaming my shelter.
you haven't seen them?
I haven't
Oh,
seen
goodness, really?
them. Yeah, I don't know where they're at.
The basement.
But I just like, if that's okay to have permission to.
Yeah, you
use
need
those.
to
Purge.
have
Yeah.
a realistic.
And I have been
real-time
having
number.
trouble getting a hold of Pet Point to get me added to the system. So when I make these changes, it's actually as Jessica from the shelter, because they won't add, I can't get anyone to answer their phone.
Yeah.
Since I've been there, I have not been able to have contact. I've sent email after email. But they have to add me as an admin for me to, yeah. And Lindsay has that authority too, but she's not there to give me access to hers. So Jessica agreed that she'd let me in there on her ID. But that's another thing that it will be done like in that program. It'll be shown as she made those changes. And I want y'all aware that it's really going to be me making those changes. And I think that's pretty much it.
Good.
So on the prices, just so I'm clear, I'm doing the 30 plus $100 deposit. And then they just pick a vet and go to, and so I won't need to make vouchers or anything for
I don't
anybody.
think
anymore.
so. You just
That
have to
is
bring back evidence that they had it done and.
Yeah.
get the
Invoice
$100
from the
back.
vet, right? I mean,
That sounds amazing. Thank you all.
well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I mean,
Appreciate what you've
well,
done.
I mean, some of it, you know, if they're in Indianapolis and they want to do it, they wouldn't necessarily have to make a trip back as long as they got you evidence that they
Yeah,
had that.
and they
then
can
you
fax me that or
Right.
email it.
Could email it.
Yeah,
or-
but-
Right,
even-
that'd be fine, and then a check mailed to them, and
Yeah.
that way they wouldn't have to, 'cause I
drive
don't know,
back.
someone would kind of walk, I mean, I have to come all the way back to, no, but
Yeah.
you have to show, give us,
Should you start a
Evidence.
line item for that?
Yeah,
So
what we
it's
would
a-
actually have to do is probably do an ordinance maybe to create a fund and state exactly what its purpose was, so that when audited, we could show why we were holding the money in that fund for that time and what our process was.
So it's not thrown in some other, and there you are
Yeah, I don't,
having a fit, trying to find out where 200 or
I
300
don't wanna look
bucks.
for it.
is.
until
No.
it's- no.
And I almost forgot a biggie. The payroll ordinance come out and it's missing a full timer on that payroll ordinance, and the way it works out, like mathematically, the full-time, one of my full timers is getting less next year than what she's getting currently.
So the salaries that were requested were 3 full-time people to be paid the exact same amount. And at that time, Lindsay was not going to bump anyone up to the assistant administrator pay. Things have happened since then. There was someone bumped up to the assistant administrator pay. Now that this budget is approved, it's approved at a lesser amount than what she's making.
Yeah.
So I told Trisha, there are some other departments that are being reworked for January. What I recommended her do is bump all 3 positions to whatever Jessica is making
Mhm.
at a 4% raise, which was across the board for the county employees. Make both of the existing full-time that starting January. The new 3rd position, take that money to make the difference in those 2 lines, and then hold off on hiring until she can from the 3rd line. Because at this point, the budget is approved for what
Right.
it is, but we can stay within, we can rearrange the money in a different way.
But I would like to get with you all to kind of go over that, like all, because like even with the part-timers, with what was on there, if my math was right, it only leaves me with each of my 4 part-timers only being allowed 12.82 hours a week to work.
But that was because there was an additional full-time person on the floor all the time. That, at the time, Lindsay said that much part-time would not be needed if she had a full-time person on the floor with the animals all the time. So that's why the part-time budget was 28,000 this year.
I just need help of getting it in my head how it works out, if I can meet with you all, like maybe some other time together on it, just to see how.
So
it
what were
works
the
out.
part-time getting? 24?
I don't know what,
20, I think I got,
Can't be over 28.
well, oh, no, it's 26 hour, or what I've been trying to do is that, when we got together and I did that, with the 103 hours a week that I needed to run it right, it
Mhm.
was making them right at 26 hours a week is what I needed each of the 4 to work. But then with the way with it just having that much in their payroll account,
but that means we'll have a person on the floor at 40 hours.
right?
And then you said 4 people at 12.
Yeah, at 12, or, well, they could work 12 hours a week
So-
to equal up to that amount. But I need 3 physical people every day to clean the shelter properly. So, I mean, if it's my 3 full-timers, okay, but that's still, that's Monday through Friday. What happens Saturday and Sunday,
Just
With
that extra person and your 4 people at 12 hours is 88 hours. And that's not even including the other 2.
Okay, see, I'm doing my math wrong then. That's what I'm doing.
If it's 12 hours per the 4.
Yeah, well,
That's,
but we worked them out at 26 when we all sat down.
Right.
That's like the.
But you could always.
But I didn't know about that 3rd full-time position.
Right. So the council, it always says whatever your part-time amount is, you can divide that amongst 6 people, or you can divide it 2
Right.
people, however you have to do it to make it most efficient for your office. Have to stay within
The
that budget.
28, yeah. I still want to get with y'all, if we could plan that out sometime.
okay.
How about Erica?
A little more organized.
Okay, I just wanted to inform you guys about some things. First of all, involving broadband. The 2 local internet service providers that service Jefferson County, which would be Spectrum and Southeastern Indiana REMC have been awarded through Okra's Next Level Connections program. Spectrum has been awarded $3,963,805.88. Their project specifically is going to only be working in Jefferson County. However, Southeastern Indiana REMC's total project is at $3,806,164.26. And their project is going to be focused on Franklin, Jennings, Ohio, Ripley, Switzerland, and Jefferson County. So I haven't gotten feedback yet from Southeastern Indiana REMC on specifically where those areas are going to be. I have gotten some information from Spectrum. It's not public information. And after this meeting is over, then I'll be wanting to discuss the information that they provided me with you guys. And just going back to that, I've spoken with Bobby, and I've sent you guys emails as well, just with the projects that they're going to be doing. And then these two ISPs, they have about a 2-year window on construction that they'll be doing. The Purdue, what Bobby calls LTAP, they give us a packet. They're giving Indiana counties a packet of ordinances and permitting fees that that counties, rural counties specifically, should be addressing when these ISPs are coming out to do build outs in your counties. That way, when they're doing that work, you don't have the county liable of a lot of things that could possibly go wrong with right of ways. Then separate from that, let's see here. I just wanted to add that those two specific ISPs, there's not going to be any wireless. They're all fiber to the premises or to the address. Spectrum did state that we do have existing pole attachment agreements with the co-ops in the area. They will be attaching the fiber to the poles roughly 80% of the way. Then the final 20% will be the underground into the homes and the businesses. And that final 20% is what we're gonna want to try and address with you guys and with the highway department on these right-of-ways going into people's property, or, you know, the roads over my head, not even my
It'll be
department.
under your
So,
feet. It'll be under your feet, not over your.
yeah,
They're going underground. We're not going.
right. So that's all I have concerning that. Renisha
So,
has, go
Just
ahead.
on the SEI or Southeastern Indiana REMC, I think we may have some information
Okay, great.
on what their, at least their initial plan was, because they came to us when we had to pass that first ordinance with, here's what we think we're gonna do. So it may take a little bit of digging. If you get it first, let us know and we'll stop digging, but.
Right, and they initially had that plan, and I think it's changed
Oh,
just a
okay.
little bit, because
Okay.
that also changed the timeline for what Spectrum knew what they were gonna do, because they went back in and there was some challenging that took place there. So,
It's always challenging.
so I don't know, you might, it
Well,
might be the
if I
same,
can
it
find
might
it
not.
quickly, but if you think they've updated them.
Challenging like is in franchise areas.
I don't specifically know
Okay.
the answer to that. I could probably search an
I'm
email and
just
get
curious.
you that answer though.
That's fine. We're still making progress. I
Yes.
mean, so,
Yeah,
but
most
I don't know.
definitely. I wanted to get those numbers out first, just so that the public realizes that it is actually happening. And so, you know, the broadband task force is really working to get Jefferson
you.
County internet.
I mean, you know, I mean, the state's got money out there, the federal government's got money out there, I mean, so
Yes.
it's good. I mean,
Which,
I don't know how much of that, you know, but over $4 million so far for it to get internet to folks in Jefferson County, so.
So, along with that, I've been challenging the listed availability and connectivity information on the FCC maps. This window of the challenge process will end January 13th. So it's very important that everyone is trying to communicate with Renisha and I on what is going on in the area. Simply because it's, each state in the state, or in the United States, I should say, I get nervous up here. Each state is to receive a minimum of $100 million from BEAD. And BEAD is broadband equity and access development. That's a minimum. So June 30th of 2023 is when BEAD allocations are scheduled to be announced. So when those are announced, then we'll know how much the state got, and then we'll know how much we can apply to the state. And obviously, you know, the more information that we have to apply to the state, the better.
Sure.
So that's why we're passing out that information. I say it every time I come in here. If you haven't gone to the broadband website, I encourage you to do it. It's nice when I see it in the community. My children attend Madison Consolidated, and so a letter from the superintendent went out, and I read those letters. And at the bottom of it, it stated, you know, if you are having problems with connectivity in your household, to reach out to the Jefferson County broadband page. So I appreciate that very much, because we are putting a lot of work and effort into it so that Jefferson County can have adequate internet.
Do you know any way to gauge how many, what percentage or how many people have taken advantage of the
Of
putting in information about their connectivity? Or just curious, I mean.
On ICP in particular, I don't think that the actual addresses, the state has those records and they usually release them to the providers. I think there might be a way for us.
Well, I was
to
just,
get
you know,
them.
percentage, all right, we've got 50% of the folks have
Mhm.
done it, or we've got 10%, you know. I'm just
Yeah,
wondering if
no,
there's
not
any.
that I know. There's no
Okay.
tracker per
Okay.
se. It's
That's
just
fine,
kind of
just-
the state banks who actually submits their addresses. The ISPs are aware of that too. We can ask either one for those records in our county. I think I had another county in our region that did ask for that. If anybody responded, I didn't really hear, but I
That's fine.
don't think
I
that
just-
it's a no. We could probably find it out.
Well, yeah, I just was wondering, you know.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
a good
Yeah.
question.
How,
It's
how big,
possible. to find
how
it.
big of a headway are you making, or and do we need to think of other ways to get that
Yeah.
information out to folks?
Yeah.
So, okay,
Out of Spectrum's project, they told the state that they are going to be accessing 557 households and 16 businesses and or anchor institutions.
Okay.
So I don't know if that directly correlates to the percentages of
No, that's fine. I mean,
asking.
you said 5,000, 5,000?
500.
500, sorry, yeah.
Households.
Great, sorry.
Yeah.
But still, that's a good number. I mean, and that's,
And that's just of
Mm.
those 557 households, if you're, let's say, for example, your house is listed in those 557 households, and I live directly across the street from you, like I can holler at you and say hi, I'm gonna be able to get access to that internet too. And that's not in that 557 number,
yeah, I mean.
because I did ask that question
They're
specifically.
getting closer to folks by building it out, so.
Oh, and actually to your question about tracking it, so again, no, the state doesn't have any actual system that's tracking it, but I do remember that they actually do release the numbers by county in each round. So like the last round, it was announced how many we had in Jefferson. And so they do that with each round. And I think the specific addresses, again, if you needed that, you probably
No, I-
have to.
Yeah, I wasn't, I
Contact the
didn't
state for it, but
necessarily
yeah.
know who, but just
Okay.
how many or.
Yeah,
About how
they do
many.
actually release, now that you say that, I remember they release that each round when they make the announcement as to who got what awarded.
Okay, so the next subject that I was going to address is the federal government established the Affordable Connectivity Program. This provides eligible parties a subsidy benefit such as $30 off of your internet. There's also an opportunity, I should say, for a one-time discount of up to $100 to purchase a laptop or a desktop computer or a tablet. Eligible parties that can participate in this program, you can find that list on our website. It would be households that are eligible for WIC or SSI, Medicaid, programs such as that. So Renisha, who is our CERC Economic Resiliency Coordinator and is also on the Broadband Task Force, she has some information to give you on that. And there is the federal government has a Affordable Connectivity Outreach Grant Program. So with this information that people for low income can be getting help for their internet, there's just not much information about it out there. And to get the information out there costs money, printing,
Sure.
commercials, but maybe personnel, actually. So
It's a really,
talk
yeah,
about
sure.
it? Okay.
Yeah, you're like, I'll summarize it. Yeah, it's a really great opportunity for our region. I really, really would love to pursue it. Well, I am pursuing it.
Yeah.
Love to be, for us to get selected as a grantee, because it's efforts that we would be doing anyways, but it's of course just a lot easier and a lot more fun when you have some federal money behind you to help make it go a lot smoother. So as of right now, I am waiting for some organizations throughout our region to confirm that they're willing to partner with CERC. CERC will be the lead applicant. Any partners, organizations in the region that want to partner with us will be the subrecipients. I have two major ones from here in Jefferson County that I don't want to disclose publicly yet, because they're just waiting for like the 100% yes from their leadership, but they are highly, highly interested. And it will be really, really great if they are on board because they have a far reach. One of them even has a reach outside of CERC region. So that's beneficial because it's our neighboring counties, and also that just makes the application even more competitive and attractive to the SEC because this is outreach. So they want that reach to be as far as possible.
Regional cooperation.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So, and I am actually working, collaborating, well, me being CERC is collaborating with United Way of Greater Cincinnati, that we have two counties that our jurisdictions kind of cross over. So we are collaborating with them on that. They'll take the lead for those counties. So that's another partner that we do have so far, but waiting to get confirmation for more. What I really, really need at this point, just to have our best chances for our application to be competitive is match. So I'm asking you and begging for money. If you can, however much, a couple thousand, of course, I'm going to ask not just our partnering organizations, but the other counties in our region too, if they would be willing to put up anything. Match is not required, but it is something that they said explicitly that would push, add points to an application. Letters of support is oddly, I thought it was weird that like neither one of these things are required, but one count, of course, money, it makes sense why money would count for points, but I feel like letters of support should too. They don't count for more points. However, I'm going to throw it at them anyways. So you never know, it might sway somebody's mind subconsciously or not, even though they said it won't help applications, but I would still like to include them. So if you guys would also write us a letter of support on this grant, we would really appreciate it. And yeah, I just really hope that this, oh, yes, thank you. Yeah. And that's the thing I wish, because it would make sense with ARPA, you can use it. Yes, you put it there, you read it, thank you, yes. Yeah, unfortunately, you can't use that, so it'd have to be from a different source. I wish we could, because it would make sense. It's already approved for digital inclusion. This is digital inclusion, but they said no, so. That's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm gonna try. I hope that, we can get it.
So-
The deadline's just fast approaching. It's the only
Sure,
thing.
yeah, so what is that
Yeah,
deadline? What is it?
it is January 9th.
Right.
So yeah, I will be working on this over Christmas. But the good news is that the application is fairly easy. It's just the thing that has me the most worried is just making it as competitive as possible with some match. And, but otherwise, between the other organizations that more than likely are coming on board, we'll be able to pull it together before the deadline. So yeah, that's my spiel. Thank you, Erica. Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
And then the last thing that I had was, to date, the following businesses were the ones that were originally granted the 25,000 from the Jefferson County revolving loan fund.
21.5,
And they have,
21.5,
what's that?
21.5, or is this the initial group, sorry, Alice?
This,
The initial, okay. So
the,
it's
the
25,
first
sorry.
group, yeah, the
First,
first
sorry.
group, yeah.
Yeah.
They have been granted the 12,500 for participating in the first phase of that program. And those businesses are Clifty Garden Center, Cozy Acres Golf Complex, Lee's Lot Service, and Midwest Gym Supply.
Good deal. Thanks for riding that through.
Yeah.
Thanks for getting us set up for the next phase.
Yes, nobody else in the audience needs to, looks like everybody's done and cleared out. Heather, anything?
The only thing I would say is with the animal shelter is to not change those until we have the fund set up for that $100 to come into.
Okay.
So, we can get Pat to get an ordinance together for the next meeting, but we'd have to read it twice. So it'd be probably, if you said February 1st or March 1st, these will be the effective changes. That would probably be a good idea. Have everything put together.
So in the meantime, what would be the fees, the 30 plus what the vets cost?
I would think so, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they're gonna have to get it done anyway, and there's no
Right.
sense.
We just do not have a place to hold that
Right,
money.
right.
Right.
Oh.
I
Escrow.
completely understand, I just want to make sure I'm clear,
Sure.
go back and be clear what I'm doing.
And I think it's just doing it that way for now, and you can tell them it will change, but it's good.
So on our websites, then can I just put up that prices, call shelter for prices? Because.
I mean, I would say
subject to
you could say
change?
the $30 and then
Okay,
for the additional services, call the shelter
okay,
and give them the options. And I mean, you can tell them what they, because you will send the animal off to get spayed or neutered, right? And then they get charged the,
yeah, well, some
All right.
people are taking them with an appointment to be
Oh,
spayed and
okay.
neutered, and
Okay.
then some are opting to keep them at the shelter till they're
till that
fixed.
happens. Okay.
But like the foster to adopt, they're going to their home and they don't want to necessarily bring them back to the shelter
Sure.
to get the spay and neuter. They want to keep them at their house when they decide they're going to adopt. So I just kind of let them go from there to the vet.
That sounds good. I mean, I think just,
As long as you can document it, yeah.
Yeah, well, she was wanting it for the county website.
I think if you say,
Prices.
Sarah was wanting an
Yeah,
official
Sarah was
motion to
wanting it.
make
So they
the
match.
change on the website.
well, I think we will get there,
Okay.
but I don't know that you can put
Well,
a,
we got a couple of complaints.
Sure, I
about the
understand.
Prices not.
I mean, we
matching
can
up.
change it to match what we said. $30 adoption fee plus
The cost of spay, neuter, and
Right.
rabies per
Call-
vet.
and call
Call shelter
If
for
you need- if
updated
you-
prices.
Verification, yeah.
Okay,
if you want to.
that sounds good.
Anything else?
No, that's.
Okay.
Just a jail update. Things are moving very, very well. We had the meeting, of course, last week, I believe, and a special IT meeting. That's all mapped out. That's coming together. So everything's positive right now. So, and we've started getting some shipments in from FFE, the equipment. Of course, Troy's graciously offered the building out there. But
Storage space.
we'll continue to get stuff in, so it's there, ready and available when we do get to pull the trigger, so. It's a positive,
Pull the trigger.
yeah, no pun intended, when we make the decision to move.
Yeah. That's yours, so contract, construction, transition.
Transition.
You gotta take care of that. You gotta-
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We were talking the other day, and we said,
The 3 Cs,
Three Cs, yeah.
curly, Larry, and Moe.
Yeah. Dave, you got anything?
So they had some, we had, they had individual stormwater management kind of discussions. So they're just to have every individual have a chance that they talked to at the first kickoff meeting, just to get their information on what's critical, where's some information that they're gonna need to put this together, so that they didn't necessarily get at the first one. So they've had those, I think those were Monday. We had the public, it wasn't really a public meeting, but it was a public meeting, a public, not, I don't know how to say that. Anyway, it was a chance for the public to come and look at the new unified development ordinance. So they could look at all the kind of the changes and how things were going to be set up. Got some input, they'll get kind of those put in. It will then go to the plan commission. Once they get all that changed, we've got a couple meetings to kind of finalize some other things, but once we get that all together, probably go to the plan commission in January or February, and then we'll come to us after that. So the meeting at the plan commission will be a public meeting, a public hearing, so they can offer any other comments to that. So that's moving forward, but probably the March, April timeframe, you'd come to us for final approval. And, but the council meeting, they decided not to go forward with the JPG study, so we'll have to look at other things. I know we've talked about a few others, so we'll probably do that after the holidays. Then. I did find something today on Fox News. Yeah, I do go to the event. Anyway, Walmart is doing drone delivery in Florida, Texas, and Arizona markets. So in Tampa, Orlando, Phoenix, and Dallas area, they've decided they're going to start delivering packages by drones. Anyway, something that had come up at the meeting that I thought, oh, 2 days later, I see what they're doing.
Right around the doorstep.
Well, I often wonder, why do these places get those opportunities, or why does Walmart choose? I mean, some of that is they are big population centers. I understand that, but some of it is those guys are ready for it. So anyway, that's all I got.
Have the studies done.
You said it, not me.
I did. Absolutely. Nothing else. Okay, well, I think the next residential treatment training process meeting is right after our next meeting, commissioner meeting, so I'll give you a better update on that is, which I think it might be the 6th, but we're still kind of postponed it for the holidays, the meetings.
Yeah.
So we're gonna meet with kind of go over the assessment needs process from UC. That'll kind of be that meeting, but that's about all we've done for right now. That's all I have.
Everybody have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yep. Merry
Motion
Christmas.
to adjourn, gentlemen.
I second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Y'all can say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, yeah. There we go.
I'm afraid of the house.
Yeah.